Hey everybody, thanks for coming along to watch our demonstration this morning. My name is Michelle O'Neill and I'm from a little business called Cherry Tree Equine. We're a little bit further south than you guys, but in my life I spend a lot of my time travelling around giving horsemanship clinics, and I also help people with buying horses, and this morning I'm going to do a demonstration on buying the ideal horse. So it's a little bit about what you need to look for when you go looking at a horse. Doesn't matter whether it's your first horse or your 50th horse. The same principles will still apply. And you know, sometimes it's not a bad thing. It actually lets you consider the horses you've got now and actually look at whether or not they are suitable for you. I've been riding pretty much my whole life, and we started our business in 2010. And the reason why we started it was I was coming across a lot of people as I travelled around competing. I also compete. And I was coming across a lot of people at pony clubs and things like that that had bought horses that were just not suitable. And there was, I was hearing stories of people getting hurt, or, horses being scary. And when we started our business, I spent a lot of time taking those horses and working on them and retraining them and getting them quiet and getting them to where they could be sold on to suitable homes. So I spent a lot of time matching horses to people. So out of that, with conjunction with Horsewise magazine, and the owner of Horsewise magazine is here today. She's with the Galloways today. Here she is. Here's Em. In conjunction with Horsewise, we put together a little DVD called Please Can I Have a Pony? And it's all about buying the ideal horse. And even though it is based at kids, there's a lot of stuff in it for people no matter what their age. So this morning I'm just going to go through some of the things that I would look for if I was going to buy a horse, okay? And this is a horse, this is T. So T is a 12-year-old quarter horse. We bred him, so I've known him his whole life. The good news for me and the bad news for all of you is, even though I'm going to use him on a demo on buying your right horse, he's not for sale, okay? So don't come and ask me. He's super great for this sort of stuff. We use him at home. I do clinics and lessons at home, and he's one of the horses we actually sometimes use. And when I'm not using him for that, my mum actually rides him. So he was a competition horse and he was too slow. I sacked him. So it goes to show that even competition horses can go and have a good life. And that's one of the things about this horse. You wouldn't know it with this horse, but he has spent his life competing in speed events. He was a barrel racer, he's been a barrel racer, he's been a steer undecorator, he's been a camp drafter. I have actually shown him in reining and halter just when I had nothing else to do. He's done a lot of stuff, and that's the beauty of a horse like this. You guys might say, oh, but he's a barrel racing horse. Barrel racing horses are mad. Well, yes, some of them are. I'm not going to deny that. But the beauty of a horse like this is he'd been carted all over the country by the time he was 6 years old, okay? By the time he was 6 years old, he'd done more miles in my truck than most of you guys will do in your lifetime, okay? So this horse has seen and done it all. And classic example, I was talking to people down the back, they'll vouch for this. I literally got on him here, okay? He's had no working down, no preparation. This is the sort of horse that people should be looking for, okay? A horse that no matter what the situation, he's going to be okay. So if you're a nervous rider, if you were a rider that hadn't had a lot of experience with horses, and you could find a horse like this, this is fantastic, okay? Now, I'm not saying every ex-competition horse is going to be like this, okay? But if you shop around, you can find it. Now, how do I know this horse is relaxed? If you were going to buy a horse and you wanted to know, is this horse nice and calm? What are we looking for? Look at this horse. Look where his head is, okay? His head's down. He's kind of looking at all you guys. His ears, anytime you're working with a horse or looking at a horse, his ears, and I'll talk about that sneeze in a minute, his ears are a very good indicator of where his eyes are, okay? So can you guys see as I ride around, if I ride around past you all, like you'll see his outside ear is flicked out toward all of you and what's going on, okay? He's watching out that side, okay? But his inside ear is back and it's listening to me, okay? So he's paying attention to what I want. Now, if I change direction, he's going to prick his ears because I'm heading him straight to you and the bunting and everything else. And now look at him. He might look at you guys, but his head is not coming up at any stage, okay? He's calm, he's relaxed. When you're dealing with horses, any time that their pole, and I'll stop and show you. Anytime you're dealing with a horse, and this is ridden or on the ground, okay? Anytime you're dealing with a horse and their pole up here is higher than their wither, now he's a little high there, but he's still very lax. But if he stuck his head up in the air, and if I pull him, if I get him to bring his head up, that's a sign of flight, okay? Horses are prey animals, okay? Horses have spent hundreds of thousands of years evolving whilst being eaten by lions, tigers, and every other creature on earth, okay? So when a horse is getting ready to run, okay, the head comes up. So if I was riding around here and this horse's head suddenly came up about here somewhere, I'd be going, what's wrong with him? Okay, he's concerned about something. But as it is at the moment, he's relaxed, he's calm. You saw then he looked at the gator, so he came up a little bit. See, he's paying attention. I know where he's looking. Now, you guys heard him sneeze before, okay? When we're dealing with our horses, there's 5 signs of release. And this is, we deal a lot with this in our horsemanship clinics. Okay, but the 5 signs of release are when your horse is relaxed and he's listening and he's absorbing the lesson. It's a bit like for any of you guys who are at school. You know when you have those lessons with your teacher where you're really paying attention, okay, and it's all going in, and then you have those other lessons where none of it's going in at all. Okay, if my horse is giving me signs of release when I'm working with him, I know he's paying attention to the lesson. Okay, so that sneeze before when I was walking him around talking to you guys is a good sign for me. Okay, I'm happy with that because I know he's calm and I know he's listening. So you go to look at your horse. Okay, now like I said, it doesn't matter whether it's the first horse you're buying or the 50th. I have the same principles. If I go look at a horse for someone, these are some of the things, there you go, nice and calm. These are some of the things I'm going to look for. My first piece of advice, and this will be the same whether you're going to buy a cow, whether it's a beautiful belted Galloway, okay, or a horse, be on time. Okay, at the end of the day, you're about to spend a lot of money on an animal, okay, and it's going to be, you know, a lot of money is relative too. Don't get me wrong. Some people think $500 is a lot of money, but if I'm going to spend, and a horse like this, I would value at about $11,000. Like if I was going to spend that sort of money on a horse, and if I'm the seller of that horse, and you're coming to look at that horse, and you turn up late, 2 things are going to happen. One, I'm going to be, as the seller, I'm going to be annoyed. So you've just taken away some of your bargaining power. And 2, you actually miss out the opportunity to see what goes on with the horse before you get there. Okay? I like, and when we were selling horses all the time, my big thing was that I would always have the horses in the paddock. Okay? If I knew someone was coming, I wouldn't get the horses in before they came. Because first things first, if you buy a horse and you can't catch it in the paddock, well, you're not going to be able to do much more with it, okay? So if you're early, it doesn't matter, it can be 15 minutes. Okay, if you're just that little bit earlier, that gives you the opportunity to see what they're doing with the horse before you turn up. How many of you have heard the story about someone who went to get a horse and it was really quiet when they rode it, and they bought it, and then they got it home, and it turned into Curio's full brother, okay? And it bucked the house down and could have been here at Moss Vale Rodeo, okay? I'm not saying everybody is unscrupulous, okay? There's a lot of fantastic people out there who do a lot of great work and who will look after you, but there's always got to be one, okay? So, you know, be aware of what time you're meant to be there. Be aware of what's going on. If you could be early, maybe you'll catch them lunging the horse down for an hour, okay? So it's just really something to be aware of. It's something small, but it's something that can make a really big difference in the horse you buy. Now, when you get there and you go near the horse, you know, you want to make sure, and now he's not endearing himself to everybody. If I got on a horse and started doing, like, the head pulling stuff, it was at home, and it started doing some of this, I'd start to wonder about what's, like, how trainable it is, okay? He wants to move today because, you know, like I said, they're prey animals, so he's happier to be moving. If I'm standing, he's just not quite as comfortable. So, you know, if you got on a horse, and especially if you're looking for a confidence builder or a horse for a beginner, and it wasn't willing to stand still, I'd be straight away having some issues with it. Especially for any of you who are getting back into horses after a spell, and I have a lot of people who come to my clinics who, you know, they just want to ride their horse on weekends. They don't want to be going every morning at 5 o'clock and getting on their horse and riding it. They just want to go and have some fun. And so they want to do a lot of things where they go to a lot of clinics and go to adult riding club days and all of that really cool fun stuff that you can do these days. There's so much we can do with our horses. So guess what you do at those days? You stand around a lot. Okay, so if I was to take this horse to a clinic, it wouldn't worry me, but if you were a bit nervous and you had a horse that was a bit like this bloke, you know, you're not going to have so much fun. Okay, so this comes back to thinking about what you actually want your horse for. Okay, what do you want to do with your horse? And I always tell people when they go to look at a horse, the first thing they should do before they pick up the first edition of Horse Deals or open up the first buy and sell page on Facebook, sit down and write a list. Write down your dream horse. Okay, I don't care if that horse is purple with pink spots. Okay, if that's what you want, it's got to be out there. Okay, so write down exactly what you want. Okay, you know, it might be the pretty buckskin with the 2 white socks and the white star. Okay, so if that's what you want, write that down. Okay, and then what you do, leave your list. Leave it for a day or 2, depends on what's going on, and then go back to that list. And go back and then prioritise that list. So go from, this is the most important thing I need, to this is the least important. And you can change it over time. Now take that list and take it with you, okay? And make sure you refer to it. Because for me, in what I do, colour is not that important. So if I go to look at a horse and it's plain bay, I can live with that. But, you know, if this is your dream horse for life, you might not want this. So that might be higher on your list than it would be for me. Colour on my list is at the complete bottom, okay? But the thing is too, if you're looking for confidence horse, beginner, and like this horse's conformation is not perfect. For a competition horse, I can pick a lot of faults in him for you. And so conformation, if I was looking for a competition horse, he would have some downsides. However, if I was looking for a quiet, plotted trail riding horse, I can overlook those conformation faults for a horse like this. Now, the other piece of advice I always give people when they go to look at a horse, do not take the float, okay? I have a friend, and she has driven all over New South Wales and Victoria in the last couple of years buying horses. She's taken the float with her on most of her occasions. She has bought, I would predict, 3 or 4 horses. I didn't go with them. She's bought 3 or 4 horses that I would not consider suitable. So now, here's the thing. Her argument is, if I take the float, let's say you're travelling down to my place, which is about 3.5 hours from here, and you're travelling to my place and you come in to look at a horse, and you bring the float, okay? And you buy a horse and it's not suitable. Now, I've probably just stung you anything from $2,000 to $10,000 for a horse. Consider how much fuel it would have cost to make that second trip. Okay, $80, $100. So, here's the thing. What would you rather waste? Would you rather waste $100 or would you rather waste $2,000? Okay, I know what I'd rather waste. The money tree at our place died in the drought, so, you know, I don't have that kind of money to throw away. So it's a little thing, but people often forget it. Now, if you're looking for a horse for a beginner, things start to get a little tricky because you need to be able to make sure that that horse is going to do what you want to do. So, first things first, get the owner to ride it. Any horse, I don't care what it is. If I turn up to somewhere to look at a horse and the owner or the trainer, whatever, will not ride the horse before I do, I'm not interested. Okay? At the end of the day, I've only got one head. Okay, I've only got one body, and if it's broken, I can't work. So I'm not really interested because there's obviously something going on. But then if they ride it nicely, everything's good, and I'm happy, and I go to get on. I want a beginner's horse. I'm talking about a beginner's horse now. So I'm going to ride it like a beginner. T hates this part of the demo. So I am literally going to do everything that a beginner will do. So I'll drop my feet out of the stirrups. I'll hang down the side. I'll go. I'll pull on its head. He's not hard to see what doesn't like it. Okay, then I'll kick him out of there and I'll go, come on. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Oh. All right, we're cantering on the left leg. Let's go right. What happens? Oh, okay. Like you can see, this old horse kind of goes, oh, okay. Now I'm going to pull on over here. And now I'm going to pull over here. Okay. Now the owner might get a little upset about you doing this, but let's be honest. Beginners going to do a lot worse than that. Okay, and but number one thing beginners do, ride round on the heads. So if I now balance myself on his head, he says that means stop. If I balance myself on his head, you guys can see straight away he's got that not very happy look about him. But at the end of the day, that's what a lot of beginners are going to do. Okay, so if you go to do this, if you jump on a horse and you pull on him and ride him like a beginner and it loses all emotional control at that moment, you could probably drive away. Okay, and to be honest, even for me, if you know, in competition for me, if I'm running wide open at 40 kilometres an hour and something goes wrong or I need to turn, I am going to pull. Okay. So I train all my horses that this is not a pressure issue. This is just something that happens. Now here's the next thing, of course. If you're half a hand and you've got a little bit of time, you might go and find a horse that's a little rough around the edges and you can put the time into that. That's fine. So what would you look for? Well, same kind of thing. You know, like I would get on it and I would ride it forward. And then I would accidentally pull on its head. And he's trying to do a one-rein stop. Straight away I know he can do a one-rein stop. One-rein stops are so important. Okay, I don't care what your discipline is. I don't care how often you ride. Every horse should know a one-rein stop. Okay? It can be the difference between something really scary and happening and you being okay. Right? So something I will do no matter what the horse is, I will get on and see if it knows a one-rein trot. Now, of course, I want to know, this is again, whether it's a beginner's horse or a horse that's going to do a little bit more, I want to know that I can do this at all speeds. Because here's the deal, you know, if a horse is bolting and you need to do one-rein stop, if you haven't practiced it already at the walk, trot and canter, it's probably going to be a little hard to do. So, now obviously this horse knows how to do one-rein stop. I'm not advising you go out and do this without warning on a horse at the canter, okay? I would have already prepped this horse at the walk and the trot before I asked for this at the canter. So I'm going to do a one-rein stop, okay? Now, he's a little slow, you know, but he did it. Okay, I can make that a little nicer and a little prettier come time, but at this stage, at least I know that foundation is there. So if I get on a horse and this kind of stuff starts happening, I know that this horse has had a little bit of work. Okay, I know there's a foundation there that I can go on with. Okay, and talking about foundations and going on with horses, something that people should be really, really aware of is where a horse has been started, if you can find it out. The foundation, the start of a horse, makes a difference to the rest of its life. Okay? And if they've been started correctly, you will have a better chance of having a better horse. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that all the big, high-paid horse breakers out there are the way to go. Okay, there's some fantastic backyard people, you know. Well, I broke in this horse, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But, you know, like, if I know that this horse had a good start, I know that I can do a lot more with him, okay? I've had horses come to me that were broken in by people who I consider shouldn't be allowed to have a frog, let alone a horse, and at the end of the day, the damage was already done. Okay, so I'm not saying this is the case for all horses, but it's just one of those little things to be aware of when you're looking at horses. Has anyone got any questions just before I keep going? If you do, if you don't ask us now, and you have to do questions, our stand is back down the other end at site 63. So, you know, come down and talk to us. More than happy to answer any questions that you've got. So, you know, you've looked at this horse, you're happy with it, you think it's going pretty well, okay? Now, the thing is next, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you go away. Break the emotional attachment. I watched a TV show during the week on the ABC, and they talked about decision making. I don't even know what the program was called, but it's about decision making. And they were saying that studies have been done, and if you actually do not make a decision, so for the first, I think it was 34% of times you look at something, you have a better chance of success. So, example, if you know you've got 10 horses to go and look at, it would essentially mean, in the purest form, 3.5. The first 3.5 horses that you looked at, you are not going to buy. I don't care how much you love them, okay? You're not going to buy them. Because what that does is that gives you a base. It gives you a bit of a grounding where you've looked at several horses. So, you know, if you're going to look at 20 horses, you're going to look at the first 7, and you are going to walk away without a horse. Now, all of you who love horses have just broken your hearts. Okay, because you have all just gone, oh, but they're so pretty, and I might really love the first one. If you want to take some of the emotion out of it, this is one of the ways to do it. So you're going to look at 7 horses, and you're going to walk away from all of them. Then after that, you have a bit of a baseline of what is a good horse and what is an average horse, or what, and specifically which horse will suit you and which horses won't. So then what you can do is then start to make a more informed decision when you look at the next horses, okay? And I quite like that idea. I think that's really good. And that's where, like for someone like me who spends her life looking at everybody else's horses, whether it's in a clinic or at a lesson or whatever, you know, because I look at so many horses and because I haven't got the emotional attachment, it's a lot easier. So, to make that easier and to take that emotional attachment away, make sure you take someone with you, whether it's your instructor, whether it's a good friend who's a horse person, whether you pay someone or they do it for nothing, doesn't matter. But make sure you take someone with you who can guide you in your decision, okay? Because at the end of the day, the seller who wants to sell, you are looking for a horse, so you want to buy. So we have a combination of emotions that can get a little messy. Take a third party with you. I don't care if you take 4 people with you, okay? And I don't care how many times you go back and look at a horse. At our house, when we're selling lots of horses, we didn't give trials. I refused to give trials. I had a bad experience with the trial, so I refused to give trials. If you're lucky enough to get a trial, make the most of it. It's fantastic, and that person is very kind. But whilst we would not give a trial, I would say to people, you can come and view this horse and ride this horse as many times as you want. Okay? I didn't care if they came 3-4 days. Okay? I would be more than welcoming to make sure. And that's what sometimes you have to do. Have to go back a couple of times and look at the same horse and make sure you're happy with it. So, you know, it's a hard thing. At the end of the day, I was saying to someone this morning, when you go to buy a horse, you're not buying a horse, you're buying an experience, okay? I'm not selling you something with 4 legs that neighs and eats grass. I'm selling you that dream of being that little girl cantering out through the daisies in the paddock, okay? Or that dream of adult riding club, hanging out with your buddies, and any of you who, if you ever Tuggeranong Adult Riding Club, I do a bit of work down there in Canberra, and they're fantastic. Those girls, they sit around, they have the best lunches, like, it's social, they're having a ball. You know, if that's what you want to do, that's fantastic, do it. Okay, but that's what I'm selling you. Okay, I'm not selling you a horse.
And we're getting ready for our Gala Directions fencing demonstration. We'd love to see you over here at the Barrel Co-op with your community co-op, and we've got quite a display here today. We've got a couple of...
I'll keep going because they're going to keep going. So yeah, you know, this is the thing. Please, you know, make sure that when you go, yes, you are aware of the fact that you are buying your dream, okay? Make sure you're aware of the fact that what you're buying is that you want to buy a horse that you want to wake up every morning and be more than happy to see, okay? But make sure you take it, you look at it with an attitude of, these are big, dangerous animals, okay? There's 550 kilos of horse here that could squash me, break me, whatever. And I've got a few scars where some of them have. So, you know, please think about what you're doing, get some good advice, take your time, and just be aware that not every horse is going to suit you, okay? Even for me. Every horse I have ever bred or purchased has not suited me. So, you know, please, if you have any questions, come and see us. You know, more than happy to give you some advice to help you out. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the film, guys, and thanks for coming.